August 2004. Phoenix, Arizona. The thermometer on the wall of Cortez Auto Repair read 114 degrees. That was inside the garage. Isaac wiped the sweat from his forehead with a shop rag that had stopped being clean about 3 oil changes ago. His forearms were slick, muscles tight from 4 hours of wrestling with a Chevy transmission that didn't want to cooperate. The bay doors were open, but it didn't matter. August in Phoenix wasn't heat, it was punishment. The kind of heat that made the asphalt soft and turned every metal surface into a branding iron. No air conditioning, not in Cortez Auto. Old man Cortez believed AC made mechanics soft. "You want comfort," he'd say. "Go work at a dealership with the pretty boys." So Isaac sweated. He'd been sweating in this garage for 7 years, and his body had adapted the way bodies do. He didn't complain. Complaining was for people who had options. The transmission finally gave. Isaac felt the satisfying click of the synchro sliding into place, and he allowed himself a small nod. A victory. One of hundreds he'd rack up before the day was done. "Isaac, phone." Maria, the shop's office manager, hollered from the front desk. She was a heavy-set woman in her 50s who kept a desk fan aimed directly at her face from 8 to 5. She also kept the books cleaner than a church ledger and made the best tamales Isaac had ever tasted. "Take a message," Isaac called back. "It's your wife. 3rd time." Isaac sighed. He grabbed the rag again, wiped his hands, a futile gesture, and walked toward the office. His boots left greasy prints on the concrete floor. The other mechanics, Danny and a kid named Marcus, who was still learning the difference between a socket wrench and a screwdriver, didn't look up. You didn't look up when a man's wife called 3 times. The phone was an old rotary thing, cream-colored and heavy. Isaac picked it up. "Hey, Isaac, did you forget what today is?" Brina's voice was sharp, accusatory, that tone she'd developed over the past year that made everything sound like his fault. He thought about it. "Thursday, August 19th. Nothing came to mind. It's our anniversary dinner reservation, 7 o'clock, Maestro's." Isaac closed his eyes. Right, the Italian place in Scottsdale she'd been talking about for weeks. $80 a plate, dress code, the kind of restaurant where mechanics didn't belong. "I'll be there," he said. "You better be, and don't show up smelling like motor oil. Take a shower at work if you have to." The line went dead. Isaac hung up the phone. Maria was watching him with that look women get when they know things aren't right in a marriage. He ignored it. "Taking off at 5, he told her. "Boss won't like it." "Boss can take it up with my wife." Maria almost smiled. Almost. Back at his station, Isaac finished the transmission job and moved on to a brake replacement. Routine work. The kind of work that let his mind wander to places he tried to avoid. The house. There was a photo taped to his toolbox, edges curling from the heat. A small foreclosure property on the east side of Mesa, 3 bedrooms, fixer-upper. The bank was asking $52,000, which was a steal in the current market. Everyone and their brother was buying houses in Phoenix these days, flipping them. Making money hand over fist. Isaac didn't want to flip anything. He wanted a home, a place that was his, theirs, a place where he could build a real garage in the backyard and Brina could have the garden she always talked about. He was $5,000 short. 5,000, 8 more months of saving, maybe 6 if he picked up extra shifts and the overtime kept coming. He'd been saving for 2 years, squirreling away every dollar he could while Brina complained about the apartment, the neighborhood, the life she hadn't signed up for. "What life did you sign up for?" he wanted to ask. "You married a mechanic. What did you expect?" But he never asked. Asking led to fighting, and fighting led to silence. And silence led to that cold distance that had settled between them like desert dust. At 4:30, Isaac cleaned up as best he could. There was a shower in the back of the shop, a rusted thing with water pressure that could best be described as hopeful. He scrubbed his hands 3 times with the orange pumice soap until the black grease faded to gray. That was as good as it got. He changed into the spare clothes he kept in his locker, khakis, a button-down shirt Brina had bought him 2 Christmases ago. The fabric felt foreign against his skin, wrong, like wearing a costume. His truck, a 1995 Ford F-150 with 200,000 miles and a paint job that had surrendered to the sun, sat in the employee lot. Next to it was the Mustang. The 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. Isaac paused, the way he always did when he saw her. 4 years of his life were in that car. 4 years of weekend work, hunting down parts, rebuilding the engine piece by piece. He'd found her in a field outside Tucson, rusted and forgotten, and he'd brought her back to life the way a surgeon might save a patient everyone else had given up on. She was painted candy apple red now, the chrome gleaming even under the layer of desert dust. The engine was a masterpiece, 429 cubic inches of pure American muscle. When he turned that key, it sounded like thunder rolling across the valley. Brina hated the car. "You love that thing more than you love me," she'd said once. He hadn't argued. Maestro's was everything Isaac expected. White tablecloths, candles, a host in a suit who looked at Isaac's calloused hands like they might contaminate the menu. The prices weren't listed, which meant if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Brina was already seated when he arrived. She looked good. She always looked good. Dark hair styled in that complicated way women did. A dress he didn't recognize, probably new. Makeup that probably cost more than his daily wage. "You're late," she said as he sat down. 5 minutes. Still late. Isaac didn't respond. He picked up the menu. The words were in Italian. He recognized chicken and not much else. The waiter appeared, a young man with the kind of smile that came from working for tips. "May I start you off with some wine? We have an excellent—" "Just water for me," Isaac said. Brina's eyes flashed. "We'll have a bottle of the Chianti." "Excellent choice." The waiter disappeared. Isaac watched Brina waiting. "Don't," she said. "Don't what?" "Don't give me that look. It's our anniversary. We can splurge." Splurge, that word again, Brina's favorite word. The reason their checking account never seemed to grow no matter how many hours he worked. "I'm just saying water's free. And I'm saying I want wine. It's one night, Isaac. One night where we don't have to count every penny. Is that too much to ask?" It was the kind of question that had no right answer. If he said yes, he was cheap. If he said no, he was a pushover, so he said nothing, which made him both. Dinner was strained. Brina talked about the hotel, the Scottsdale Grand, where she worked the front desk. She talked about the guests. Rich people from California, celebrities whose names Isaac didn't recognize, executives with platinum cards and wives who dripped diamonds. "Mrs. Patterson tipped me $50 today," Brina said. "Just for recommending a restaurant. $50, you know how nice that felt." "That's good. She drives a Mercedes, the new one. Have you seen it? It's gorgeous." "Can't say I have." "You should come by sometime. See the kind of people I deal with." Isaac chewed his chicken, which was dry despite costing $34. He thought about telling Brina that he rebuilt engines for those Mercedes, that he knew exactly what kind of people drove them, the kind who complained about a $50 repair bill while wearing watches that cost more than his annual salary. But he didn't. The bill came, $218. Isaac paid with the debit card and tried not to think about how many transmissions that represented. The apartment was hot when they got home. The AC unit in the window was fighting a losing battle against August. Brina disappeared into the bedroom while Isaac sat on the couch, loosening his collar, staring at the blank television screen. He heard her before he saw her, the sound of a suitcase zipper. Brina emerged from the bedroom dragging a roller bag, the big one they'd bought for their honeymoon 5 years ago. "What's going on?" Isaac asked. She didn't meet his eyes. "I need a break." "A break." "A mental health break. The job's been killing me, Isaac. You don't understand the stress. Dealing with those guests all day, smiling when I want to scream. I'm burned out." Isaac watched her, the suitcase, the way she was moving, quick, practiced, like she'd planned this. "Where are you going?" "San Diego, me and Zoe, just a girls' trip. 3 days, 4, tops, budget thing." "I found a deal online." "When did you plan this? Does it matter?" "It matters to me." Brina finally looked at him. Her jaw was set, that stubborn look she got when she'd already made up her mind and resented being questioned. "It's already booked, Isaac, non-refundable." "How much?" "That's not." "How much, Brina?" "500, maybe a little more." Isaac stood up, slowly. The way a man stands when he's trying to keep his temper from slipping its leash. "We don't have $500 for a vacation. We have the emergency card." The emergency card, the joint credit card they'd agreed to keep locked in the filing cabinet for actual emergencies. Car repairs, medical bills, not girls' trips to San Diego. "That's not what it's for." "Says who?" "You." "You don't get to control how I spend money, Isaac." "It's not about control, it's about the house. The savings, we're 5,000 short and you want to blow 500 on. On what? On myself. God forbid I do something for myself. God forbid I take one weekend away from this." She gestured at the apartment, the peeling wallpaper, the water stain on the ceiling, from this life. Her voice cracked on the last word, and despite everything, despite the anger coiling in his gut, Isaac felt something soften. This was the trap. The way she always turned it around made him the villain for wanting to be responsible. "Fine," he heard himself say. Brina blinked. "What? Fine, take the trip." He walked to the filing cabinet, unlocked it, and pulled out the credit card. He held it out but didn't let go when she reached for it. "Gas and food only, $500 limit, not a penny more." "You can't put a limit on gas and food, 500, those are the rules." She snatched the card from his hand. "God, you're unbelievable, you know that. Most husbands would be happy to give their wives a break." "Most wives don't drain the bank account buying things they don't need." She stared at him. For a moment something flickered in her eyes, guilt maybe, or contempt. It was hard to tell the difference anymore. "I'm leaving in the morning," she said. "Early, don't bother getting up." She wheeled the suitcase back to the bedroom and closed the door. Isaac stood in the living room, listening to the wheezing AC, feeling the heat press against him like a living thing. He woke at 6, the way he always did, force of habit. The bed beside him was empty, the sheets cold. He got up, shuffled to the kitchen to start the coffee. That's when he saw the sticky note on the refrigerator, written in Brina's loopy handwriting. "My car was making a noise. I took the Mustang so we wouldn't break down. Don't worry, I'll baby it." Isaac read it twice. Then he walked to the window and looked out at the parking lot. His truck was there. Brina's Honda, the one that supposedly had a noise, was there. The spot where the Mustang should have been was empty. Isaac stood at that window for a long time. The coffee maker beeped. He ignored it. 4 years. 4 years he'd spent on that car. Every spare hour. Every weekend. Blood, sweat, and more money than he cared to count. That car was his escape, his proof that he could create something beautiful in a world that only seemed to want to take. And she'd taken it. Not her Honda with the noise she'd made up. The Mustang, his Mustang. The knot that formed in Isaac's stomach wasn't anger. Not yet. It was something colder, heavier, dread. 3 days later, the food city on Van Buren was crowded for a Tuesday afternoon. Isaac moved through the aisles like a ghost, his basket holding the essentials: bread, peanut butter, ramen noodles, coffee, bachelor food. The kind of meals a man eats when he's alone and doesn't care enough to do better. 3 days of silence. Brina had called once the first night, a quick check-in that lasted maybe 2 minutes. "Everything's fine, hotel's cute, beach is nice, talk later." Then nothing, no calls, no messages on the answering machine, just dead air and empty rooms. Isaac had buried himself in work, 12-hour shifts, rebuilds, repairs, oil changes, anything to keep his hands busy and his mind quiet. Old man Cortez had noticed but hadn't said anything. He was that kind of boss, the kind who understood that sometimes a man needed to lose himself in labor. The checkout line inched forward. Isaac glanced at the magazines, celebrity gossip, diet tips, a special issue about the upcoming election. Bush versus Kerry. The world kept spinning whether you paid attention or not. "That'll be 1847, the cashier said. She was young, maybe 19, with tired eyes and acrylic nails that clicked against the register keys. Isaac pulled out his debit card, the one connected to their checking account. The account that should have had about $3,000 in it, enough for bills, groceries, and the monthly deposit into savings. He swiped. The machine beeped, red light. "Declined," the cashier said, not unkindly. She'd seen this before. "You want to try again?" Isaac swiped again, same beep, same red light. "Must be a problem with the machine," he said, but his voice sounded hollow even to his own ears. "You can try the ATM by the door, sometimes that helps." Isaac left the basket on the counter and walked to the ATM. He inserted the card, punched in his PIN, and requested a balance inquiry. Available balance, $0. He stared at the screen. Read the number again, press the button again. Same result. $0, $3,000 gone. The Desert Ridge Credit Union was a small building off Camelback Road, sandstone-colored like everything else in Phoenix. Isaac pushed through the glass doors, his heart hammering in a way it hadn't since his last deployment in Kuwait. The lobby was cool, quiet. A woman in a floral blouse sat behind the counter, typing something into a computer that looked like it weighed 40 pounds. She looked up as Isaac approached. "Welcome to Desert Ridge. How can I help you today?" "I need to see my account activity." "There's been some kind of mistake." "Of course, I can help with that. Name on the account." Isaac Reyes, she typed, her brow furrowed. May I see your ID, Mr. Reyes? Isaac handed over his driver's license. She studied it, compared it to the screen, typed some more. I'm going to print out your recent activity. Just give me one moment. The printer hummed. Paper emerged inch by inch like a confession being dragged into the light. The teller, her name tag said Carol, handed him the printout. Her eyes were sympathetic, the way a nurse looks at you before delivering bad news. I'm required to inform you that your joint credit card has also reached its limit. Its limit is $5,000. Yes, sir. The current balance is $4,987. Isaac looked at the paper. His hands were steady. He'd trained them to be steady all those years in the army and then under the hoods of cars, but something inside him was starting to shake. The charges were listed in neat rows: date, location, amount. August 20th, gas station QARTZSIT, AZ, $45. That made sense. Quartzsite was on the way to San Diego. August 20th, MCDONALDS BLYTHE CA, $12.47 fine. Food, she was allowed food. August 20th, BELLAGIO Hotel, LAS Vegas, NV $847. Isaac read it again. Bellagio Hotel, Las Vegas, not San Diego, Las Vegas. He kept reading. August 21st, the Grand Lux Cafe, LAS Vegas, $156. August 21st. Gentleman's Cigar Lounge, LAS Vegas, $312. August 21st. Men's WRHOUSC, LAS Vegas, $487. August 22nd. Spa BELLAGIO, LAS Vegas, $225. August 22nd. Hermes Boutique, LAS Vegas, $892. The numbers blurred. Isaac blinked, forced them back into focus. Men's Warehouse, a cigar lounge, a place called Gentleman's. Gas and food only, $500. Those had been the rules, the agreement, and here it was in black and white. $4,987 spent in Las Vegas, not San Diego, not a budget girls' trip, Vegas, with someone who apparently wore men's suits and smoked cigars. Sir, Carol's voice seemed far away. Are you all right? Isaac folded the paper. Once, twice. Put it in his back pocket. I need to make a phone call. The parking lot of the credit union was empty except for his truck and a white minivan. Isaac sat in the driver's seat, engine off, windows down, 112 degrees outside. He didn't feel it. He pulled out his flip phone, a silver Motorola he'd had for 3 years, and scrolled to the contacts. Found Zoe's number, the friend. The supposed travel companion. He pressed call. 3 rings, 4, then, hello, a woman's voice, cautious. Zoe, it's Isaac, Brina's husband. A pause. Oh, hey, Isaac, what's up? Just checking in, wanted to make sure you girls got to San Diego okay. Brina hasn't been answering her phone. Another pause, longer this time. Isaac could hear the gears turning in Zoe's head, could almost see her trying to figure out what she was supposed to say. Yeah, actually I'm not in San Diego. You're not? No, I'm at home. My shifts got changed at the last minute, so I couldn't go. That's too bad, so Brina went alone. Well, not exactly. She said she found someone else to go with. I figured she told you. The words hung in the air. Isaac waited. Sometimes silence was the best interrogation tool. Zoe cracked. They always did. I mean, she's with that car salesman guy, right? Jarred something from the dealership. The name hit Isaac like a physical blow. Jarred, not a woman, not a friend, a man. What did you just say? Oh, God. Zoe's voice went high, panicked. You didn't know. I thought she said you were cool with it. She said you guys had an arrangement. An arrangement. I'm so sorry, Isaac. I didn't look. I have to go. I'm really sorry. The line went dead. Isaac sat in his truck. The heat pressed in through the open windows. His grip on the steering wheel was turning his knuckles white. Jarred, a car salesman. Someone Brina had been talking to, maybe for weeks, maybe for months. Someone who smoked cigars and bought $800 suits and ate at restaurants that cost more than Isaac made in a day. All of it paid for by Isaac's savings, the house money, his future, and they were doing it all in his car, his Mustang. The thing he loved most in the world, being used as a prop in his wife's affair. Isaac closed his eyes, breathed in through his nose, out through his mouth, a technique his sergeant had taught him back in the army. When you want to kill someone, Sergeant Delgado used to say, you breathe, you think, you plan. Anger is a weapon, Reyes, but only if you control it. When Isaac opened his eyes, the anger was still there, but it was cold now, controlled. He pulled out his phone again and dialed the credit union. Desert Ridge Credit Union, this is Carol. Carol, this is Isaac Reyes. I was just in there. I need to report my debit card lost or stolen, and the credit card too. I need them frozen immediately. Of course, Mr. Reyes. I'll need to verify. The last four of my social is 7742. Mother's maiden name is Fuentes. First pet was a dog named Buster. That's correct. I'm freezing both accounts now. Would you like replacement cards sent? Not yet. Just freeze everything. Nothing in, nothing out. Done. Is there anything else I can help with? Isaac looked at the gas gauge on his truck. Half a tank. Enough to get to Las Vegas. That's all for now, he said. Thank you. He started the engine. The drive from Phoenix to Las Vegas was supposed to take 4.5 hours. Isaac made it in 4. The I-10 stretched out before him, an endless ribbon of asphalt cutting through the Sonoran Desert. Saguaro cacti stood like sentinels on either side of the highway, their arms raised in silent surrender. The sun was starting its descent toward the horizon, turning the sky into a smear of orange and pink. Isaac didn't notice any of it. His mind was a machine now, processing information, discarding emotion, focusing on a single objective. Get the car, not confront Brina. Not beat the hell out of this jarred person, just get the car. The Mustang was his property, legally, morally, in every way that mattered. He had the registration in the glove box. He had the spare key in his pocket, the one he always carried because the Mustang was temperamental about starting sometimes. The car was his. Everything else could wait. He stopped for gas in Kingman, Arizona. Paid cash, the $47 he'd found in the change jar at home. Bought a cup of black coffee that tasted like burnt rubber and a pack of beef jerky that was probably older than Marcus back at the shop. Back on the road. The desert gave way to Joshua trees as he crossed into Nevada. Alien-looking things with twisted branches, like something from another planet. Then came the first signs, LAS Vegas 97 MILES. Then 65, then 30, then the glow. Even in daylight you could see it. That shimmering haze on the horizon that meant you were approaching Sin City. Billions of dollars of electricity burning in the middle of the desert, a monument to human excess and bad decisions. Fitting, Isaac thought. He pulled into Las Vegas just after 7 in the evening. The Strip was already coming alive, tourists in shorts and fanny packs, cocktail waitresses in sequined outfits, billboards advertising magic shows and all-you-can-eat buffets. The Bellagio. He'd seen it in movies. That fountain show, the dancing water. The place where Brad Pitt and George Clooney robbed the casino in that movie Brina had made him watch 3 times. He circled the block once. Twice, looking for his car. The valet station was on the east side of the building, a covered area where attendants in matching uniforms waited to take keys from people who had money to burn. Isaac parked his truck in a loading zone and walked toward the station. He spotted the Mustang immediately. It was parked in the premium section, gleaming under the lights. Someone had washed it, which meant Brina had probably paid $50 for the privilege using his credit card. The chrome sparkled. The red paint seemed to glow. Isaac felt something crack inside his chest. Not anger, something worse. Love for a car. It sounded stupid, but there it was. He approached the valet stand. A young man in a vest looked up. "Welcome to the Bellagio, checking in." "No, I'm here to pick up my car." Isaac pulled out the registration, the original, not a copy, and his driver's license. He laid them on the counter. "The red 69 Mustang, it's mine." The valet looked at the papers, looked at Isaac, looked at the papers again. "Sir, this vehicle was checked in under a different name. Brina Reyes, my wife, she borrowed it." "I'm sorry, but our policy—" "Check the registration. Isaac Reyes, that's me. Check the title if you need to. I have a spare key." He pulled out the key, held it up. The valet shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't in the training manual. "Let me get my supervisor." He disappeared. Isaac waited. The fountain show started behind him, that famous display of water and light, but he didn't turn to watch. A minute later, the valet returned with an older man, maybe 50, with a name tag that said Supervisor, Frank. Frank looked at the registration, looked at Isaac. "You're the owner?" "Yes, sir." "And the person who checked in the vehicle is your wife?" "She borrowed it without permission. I'm here to take it back." Frank studied him. Probably trying to decide if this was a domestic dispute that would turn ugly. Isaac kept his face neutral. Calm, the face of a man who just wanted his property. "I'll need to see the key work," Frank said finally. "Fair enough." They walked to the Mustang together. Isaac put the key in the lock, turned it. The door opened. "Pop the hood," Frank asked. Isaac did. Frank compared the VIN number on the engine block to the registration. They matched. "All right," Frank said. "She's yours. We'll need you to sign a release form." "Happy to," Isaac signed. The valet brought the Mustang around. The engine rumbled, that beautiful thunder he'd missed for 3 days. "There's some luggage in the trunk," the valet said. "You want us to hold it?" Isaac popped the trunk. Inside was a leather suitcase, expensive-looking, probably Jared's, and a garment bag with suits visible through the clear panel. "That's not mine," Isaac said. He grabbed the suitcase and the garment bag, carried them to the curb, set them down on the concrete like they were garbage. "If anyone asks," he told Frank, "tell them they can pick it up here." He got in the Mustang. Adjusted the seat. Brina had moved it forward, of course, because she was 6 inches shorter, and adjusted the mirrors. The leather smelled like her perfume. The air freshener hanging from the rear view was new, some coconut tropical thing he'd never approved. He pulled out of the valet station, turned onto Las Vegas Boulevard. That's when he saw them. They were coming out of the casino's main entrance. Brina in a dress he'd never seen, something tight and black that probably cost more than his monthly rent. And next to her a man, Jard. He was exactly what Isaac had imagined. Slick-back hair, cheap tan, a suit that might have looked expensive if you didn't know better, the kind of suit salesmen wear to look like successful salesmen. He was laughing at something, his hand on the small of Brina's back. Isaac watched from the driver's seat, idling at a red light. Brina stopped. Her eyes went wide. She'd seen the empty space where the Mustang should have been. She turned to Jard, pointed. Her mouth was moving, but Isaac couldn't hear the words, didn't need to. Jard's face went from confusion to understanding to panic. They both started running toward the valet station. The light turned green. Isaac pressed the gas. The Mustang responded the way she always did, immediate, powerful, eager. He turned onto Flamingo Road and headed for the I-15. In the rearview mirror, he watched Brina and Jard getting smaller and smaller. She was gesturing wildly at the valet. Jard was on his phone, probably calling the bank, discovering that the cards were frozen. Isaac allowed himself a small smile. The luggage was still on the curb. Let them figure it out. The drive home was different. Isaac took his time. The sun had set and the desert night was cool through the open windows. He didn't play the radio, didn't need to. The sound of the engine was music enough. He thought about what came next. The divorce was inevitable now. That much was clear. But if he filed tomorrow, Arizona law would split everything down the middle. Assets, debts, all of it. Which meant he'd be on the hook for half of that credit card bill. $2,500 gone because of her. There had to be another way. The idea came to him somewhere around Kingman. A memory from a conversation with his buddy Sean, who'd gone through a nasty divorce 2 years ago. "Marital waste," Sean had said. "That's the magic words. If you can prove your spouse blew money on an affair, that debt becomes theirs alone. Saved my ass." Marital waste. Isaac would need proof, receipts, evidence. A paper trail that showed exactly where the money went and who it went to. He had some of that already, the bank statements, but he'd need more, the camera, he remembered now. There was a disposable camera in the center console, one of those yellow Kodak ones. Brina had bought it weeks ago, said she wanted to document their summer adventures. He'd made fun of her for it. Who uses film anymore? He reached over, opened the console. The camera was there. Nearly full by the weight of it. Isaac smiled again. "Oh, Brina, you really shouldn't have left that behind." The phone calls started at 11:47 p.m. Isaac was still on the road, about an hour outside of Phoenix, when the Motorola started buzzing in his pocket. The screen glowed in the darkness, BREANNA cell. He let it ring. It rang again and again. By the time he reached the city limits, she'd called 43 times. He pulled into the apartment complex at 1 in the morning. The Mustang's engine echoed off the stucco walls as he parked in his usual spot. He sat for a moment, keys in hand, staring up at the window of their unit. The lights were off. She wasn't home yet. Good. He went inside. Fed himself leftovers from the fridge, a sad container of fried rice from 3 days ago. Took a shower, put on clean clothes, then he sat on the couch and waited. At 7 in the morning, the phone rang again. This time he answered. "Where the hell is my car?" Brina's voice was raw, hysterical. She'd been crying or screaming or both. "Good morning to you too. Don't you dare." Don't you dare be cute with me right now. Someone stole the Mustang, and the credit cards aren't working, and the bank won't answer, and I'm stuck in this godforsaken city with—" She stopped herself, almost slipped. "With who?" Isaac asked, keeping his voice calm. "I thought Zoe couldn't make it." Silence. She met up with me later. "Isaac, this isn't the point. What happened to the cards?" "Funny story." Isaac leaned back on the couch, crossing his ankles on the coffee table. "The bank called me yesterday, said there was suspicious activity, charges in Las Vegas of all places, but that couldn't be right, I told them, because you're in San Diego." "Right." More silence. "They froze everything, fraud protection. I can't unfreeze it until you come in with your ID." "Something about verifying identity." That's insane. I need that money. I need to pay the hotel bill. Where are you, Brina, exactly?" The pause was long enough to count heartbeats. San Diego was booked completely, so we came to Vegas instead. Last-minute decision. Me and Zoe. Zoe's in Phoenix. I talked to her." Silence again. He could almost hear her brain scrambling for another lie. "Look," she finally said, her voice smaller now, "I can explain everything when I get home, but right now I need you to wire me some money. Please, Isaac, I'm stranded here. Can't help you. The accounts are frozen, remember, and I just paid for gas with the last of the cash jar. There has to be something." "There isn't." "I'm as broke as you are." He paused, let it sink in. "Maybe sell something, get creative, that's what I'd do." "Isaac, I have to go work in an hour. Good luck getting home." He hung up. The next 2 days were the quietest Isaac had experienced in 7 years of marriage. No calls, no texts, no word from Brina at all. He went to work. He rebuilt engines. He ate lunch in the break room with Danny and Marcus, listening to them argue about whether the Cardinals had a chance this season. He went home. He slept. He woke up. He did it again. On the 3rd day, Sean stopped by the garage. Sean Torres was a patrol officer with the Phoenix PD, a solid guy with a shaved head and the kind of permanent squint that came from years in the desert sun. He and Isaac had served together in the Army, 2 years in the same unit, watching each other's backs. That kind of bond didn't break. "Heard you had some trouble," Sean said, leaning against the hood of a Civic waiting for inspection. "Word travels fast. Called your place 3 times, no answer. Then Maria told me you've been working doubles all week. That's not like you." Isaac set down his wrench, wiped his hands. "Brina's in Vegas. Vacation? With another man, using my credit card and my car." Sean's expression didn't change, but something hardened in his eyes. "No kidding. Got the car back, froze the accounts, left her stranded." Sean let out a low whistle. "Damn, brother, that's cold." "Not cold enough. I find out she's been planning this for months. Emails on the computer, talking about leaving me after I buy the house, taking half." "What are you going to do?" Isaac looked around the garage, the familiar smell of oil and rubber, the sound of air compressors and impact wrenches, his life in all its grease-stained glory. "I'm going to make sure she doesn't get a dime." Sean nodded slowly. "Marital waste, saw that in my divorce." "You know a good lawyer?" "The best, woman named Rivera. She specializes in exactly this kind of thing. Took my ex to the cleaners." Sean pulled out a card from his wallet. "Tell her I sent you." Isaac took the card. "Miranda Rivera, attorney at law, family law and divorce." "Thanks, Sean. Anything else you need?" Isaac thought about it, about what was coming. About the ambush he was already planning in his head. "Maybe, when the time comes, you still on good terms with anyone in fraud investigation?" Sean raised an eyebrow. "Why? Just a feeling, this jarred guy, the one she's with, something tells me he's not exactly on the level." "I'll look into it." Sean clapped him on the shoulder. "You need anything, you call, day or night, we clear." Clear. Brina came home on Sunday. Isaac heard the taxi pull up outside, heard the trunk slam, heard her footsteps on the stairs, heavy, defeated. He was sitting on the couch when she walked in, cleaning his shotgun. The Remington 870 he'd bought when they first moved into the apartment back when the neighborhood was worse. He'd already cleaned it twice that week, but the ritual was soothing. Mechanical, something to do with his hands while his mind worked. Brina froze in the doorway. She looked rough, hair that hadn't seen a brush in days, makeup smeared and faded. The black dress was wrinkled, stained with something near the hem. She smelled like stale air and engine exhaust and something else, bus fumes. "You took the Greyhound," Isaac said. It wasn't a question. 9 hours. Her voice was hoarse. "The toilet was broken. There was a man next to me who kept trying to show me pictures of his ferret. 9 hours, Isaac." Sounds rough. She stared at him, at the shotgun in his lap, at the cleaning kit spread out on the coffee table. Are you going to shoot me? What? No. Isaac held up the gun, showed her it was empty, and set it aside. Just maintenance. You know I do this every month. She didn't move from the doorway. Jard had to pawn his watch, she said quietly. His lucky watch to pay the hotel bill. That's unfortunate. We couldn't even afford decent bus tickets, coach class in the back next to the bathroom that didn't work. Sounds like quite an adventure. Brina's face crumpled. For a moment, Isaac thought she might cry. But then something shifted, that familiar hardening, the walls going up. This is your fault, she said. You froze the accounts. You stranded us. I reported fraud like any responsible account holder would. You knew I was there. I knew my wife was in San Diego with her friend Zoe. That's what you told me. He met her eyes, held them. So how could I have known anything different? She had nothing to say to that. How was San Diego, by the way? Isaac asked, picking up the shotgun again. The beach nice. Brina's jaw tightened. She grabbed her suitcase, not the expensive one from the trunk, which was probably still on a Las Vegas curb, and wheeled it toward the bedroom. We need to talk, she said. Tomorrow, when we've both calmed down. Sure, tomorrow. She slammed the bedroom door. Isaac sat alone in the living room, the shotgun across his knees, listening to the sounds of his wife crying through the thin walls. He felt nothing. No sympathy, no anger, not even satisfaction, just a cold, clear certainty about what came next. Tomorrow he'd visit the lawyer. He'd take the bank statements and the credit card bills. He'd have the disposable camera developed at the Walgreens on 7th Street. He'd start building his case. Brina thought she was smart, thought she'd gotten away with something. She had no idea. The Mustang sat in the parking lot below, gleaming under the security lights. 4 years of work. 4 years of his life poured into metal and chrome and rubber. She'd taken that from him, even if only for a few days. She'd used it to carry her lover to hotels and casinos and fancy restaurants. Isaac would make sure she paid for every mile. He went to the window, looked down at the car, then looked up at the stars, hard to see in Phoenix, too much light pollution, but they were there if you knew where to look. Somewhere in this city, Jard was sleeping. Probably in some cheap apartment, probably dreaming about getting his watch back. Isaac hoped he enjoyed the rest. It wouldn't last. The game was just beginning. September 2004, Phoenix, Arizona. The law offices of Miranda Rivera were located in a strip mall between a payday loan place and a Vietnamese restaurant. The sign out front was sun-faded, the parking lot cracked and weedy. Not exactly the image of legal prestige. Isaac liked it immediately. He pushed through the glass door at 9 in the morning, wearing his cleanest jeans and a collared shirt he'd ironed himself. The waiting room was small, 4 plastic chairs, a water cooler, and a receptionist who looked like she'd seen every kind of human misery walk through that door. Isaac Reyes, he said. I have an appointment. Have a seat, she'll be with you in a minute. Isaac sat. He didn't touch the magazines, outdated issues of People and Golf Digest, just stared at the wall and ran through what he was going to say. 5 minutes later, a door opened. Mr. Reyes? Miranda Rivera was not what he expected. Mid-40s, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, gray streaking through dark hair she'd pulled back in a no-nonsense bun. She wore a blazer over a plain blouse, no jewelry except a wedding ring. She looked like someone's tough aunt, the kind who'd slap sense into you and then make you dinner. Come on in. Her office was cramped but organized, files stacked neatly. A desktop computer humming in the corner, diplomas on the wall, University of Arizona State Bar certification, a photo of 2 teenage kids on her desk. Sean Torres sent you, she said, sitting down. How's that knucklehead doing? Still complaining about the heat. Aren't we all? She pulled out a legal pad, clicked her pen. So, tell me what happened. Isaac told her all of it. The trip, the charges, the Mustang, the retrieval, the bus ride home. He kept his voice flat, factual, just the events. No emotion. Miranda listened without interrupting. When he finished, she leaned back in her chair. Let me make sure I understand. Your wife took your car, maxed out your joint credit card, and spent your house savings on a vacation with another man. And you have the bank statements to prove it. Yes, ma'am. And she doesn't know you know about the affair. She thinks I bought the bank fraud story. Miranda smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent 20 years watching cheaters get what was coming to them. Mr. Reyes, do you know what marital waste means? Sean mentioned it. Let me explain. She leaned forward. In Arizona, when you file for divorce, assets and debts get split, usually 50-50. But there's an exception. If one spouse wastes marital funds on something that doesn't benefit the marriage, like, say, funding an affair, a judge can assign that debt entirely to the guilty party. Isaac felt something shift in his chest. Hope, maybe, or the beginning of a plan. So if I can prove she spent the money on him, then that $5,000 becomes her problem, not yours. What do I need? Miranda tapped her pen against the pad. Evidence, bank statements showing the charges, proof that the other man exists, proof that the money went to the affair. Photos would be ideal, witnesses if you can get them. I have bank statements. And there's a disposable camera in my car. She left it behind. Get those photos developed today if you can. What else? Everything you can find, emails, letters, phone records, anything that shows this was planned, that she intended to deceive you. Miranda paused. And Mr. Reyes, don't file yet. Why not? Because right now she thinks she's safe. She thinks you're stupid. Let her keep thinking that. The more evidence you gather, the stronger your case, and the more rope you give her, the more she'll hang herself with. Isaac nodded slowly. How long? As long as you can stand it. A month, 2 months. The more documentation you have, the better. And in the meantime, Miranda's eyes met his. You play the fool, you apologize, you act like nothing happened. Can you do that? Isaac thought about Brina. About the way she'd looked at him when she came home from Vegas expecting a fight, about the relief in her eyes when he just asked about San Diego. Yeah, he said, I can do that. The drive home took 40 minutes. Isaac used the time to think, play the fool, gather evidence, build a case. It went against every instinct he had. Every fiber of his being wanted to confront Brina, to throw the bank statements in her face, to demand answers. But that would feel good for about 5 minutes, and then she'd get half of everything. No, he'd waited 4 years to restore that Mustang. He could wait 2 more months to restore his life. When he got home, Brina was on the couch watching some daytime talk show. She looked up when he walked in, her expression guarded. Where were you? Ran some errands. He sat down next to her, not too close, but not distant either, normal. Hey, I've been thinking. About what? About the whole situation, the bank thing, the trip. He let out a long breath. I think I overreacted. Brina's eyes widened. What? The card getting frozen, making you take the bus. That wasn't fair. You couldn't have known the bank would flag it. No, I couldn't. And I've been thinking about what you said, about needing a break, about feeling trapped. Isaac reached over and took her hand. It felt like holding a dead fish, but he kept his face neutral. Maybe we need to start fresh, you and me. Brina stared at him. He could see her brain working, trying to figure out the angle. Was this a trap, a trick? What do you mean, start fresh? I mean, let's do something together, something nice. He paused, like the idea was just occurring to him. What about Thanksgiving? We could host a dinner, invite some people, make it a real thing. Thanksgiving. Yeah, we've never done that. Always went to your dad's place or just ordered Chinese. He squeezed her hand. I think it would be good for us, show we can be a team. Brina was silent for a long moment, then slowly she nodded. Okay, that could be nice. Good. Isaac stood up, releasing her hand. Oh, one more thing. I've been thinking about getting you a car. A car? Your Honda's getting old. Transmission's going to need work soon, and honestly, it's not worth the investment. He shrugged. I figured we could look at some used options. Maybe that salesman you know, what's his name? Jerry? Jason? Jard. The word came out strangled. Right, Jard, the one from that dealership on Bell Road. You mentioned him once. Isaac kept his voice casual, like he was discussing the weather. Think he'd give us a good deal if we invited him to dinner? Kind of a networking thing? Brina's face had gone pale. You want to invite Jard to Thanksgiving? Why not? It's good to know people in the car business, and you said he was helpful when you were looking at that Accord last year. A lie. She'd never mentioned looking at an Accord, but Isaac wanted to see how she'd react. Sure, I guess we could invite him. Great, can you get me his information, maybe a phone number, address? I'll send a formal invite, make it professional. I'll find it. Thanks, honey. Isaac leaned down and kissed her forehead. Her skin was clammy. This is going to be good, I can feel it. He walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and grabbed a beer. Behind him, he could hear Brina fumbling with her phone, probably texting Jard in a panic. Good, let her panic. 3 days later, a slip of paper appeared on the kitchen counter. Jard's name, phone number, and home address, written in Brina's handwriting. Isaac tucked it into his wallet. That night, after Brina went to sleep, he sat at the kitchen table with a pad of paper and a pen. He wrote 2 invitations. The first was to Jard. "Dear Mr. Jard Whitmore, you are cordially invited to a Thanksgiving dinner hosted by Isaac and Brina Reyes. We appreciate your service and look forward to discussing future vehicle purchases. RSVP requested." The second invitation was different. He addressed it to Angela Whitmore, a name he'd found in the phone book after looking up Jard's address. "Dear Mrs. Whitmore, as valued clients of your husband's dealership, we would be honored to host you both at our client appreciation dinner this Thanksgiving. Please join us for food, fellowship, and gratitude. RSVP requested." He sealed both envelopes, stamped them, set them by the door. In the morning, he dropped them in the mailbox on his way to work. The trap was set. October 2004, the credit card statement arrived on a Tuesday. Isaac had been watching the mailbox for a week, timing his lunch breaks to coincide with the mail carrier's route. When he saw the familiar envelope with the credit union's logo, he grabbed it before Brina could even think about checking. He opened it in his truck, parked in the shade of a mesquite tree outside the apartment complex. 4 pages, every charge listed in neat columns, date, merchant, amount. Isaac pulled out a yellow highlighter, the same one he used to mark parts orders at the shop, and went to work. $847 BELLAGIO Hotel, highlight. $156 Grand Lux Cafe, highlight. $312 Gentleman's Cigar Lounge, highlight. $487 Men's WRHUSC, highlight. $225 Spa BELLAGIO, highlight. $892 Hermes Boutique, highlight. By the time he finished, the statement looked like a crime scene. Yellow streaks everywhere, every charge that had nothing to do with gas and food. Every dollar spent on Jard, on luxury, on betrayal. He folded the statement and put it in the manila envelope he'd started keeping in his toolbox. The envelope was getting thick. The Walgreens on 7th Street had a 1-hour photo service. Isaac walked in during his lunch break, the disposable camera in his jacket pocket. "Help you?" The kid behind the counter looked about 19, with a patchy beard and a name tag that said DEREK. "Need these developed." Isaac handed over the camera. "1-hour service. You got it, double prints? Just singles. That'll be $8.95, pick up in an hour." Isaac paid cash. He spent the hour at the Burger King next door, eating a Whopper he didn't taste, watching the clock on the wall tick forward. When he walked back into Walgreens, Derek had the envelope ready. "Here you go, man. Some good shots in there." Isaac nodded, took the envelope, and walked to his truck. He sat in the driver's seat, engine off, and opened the flap. 24 photos, the first few were nothing. Brina posing in front of some casino, the strip at night all neon and chaos, a buffet table piled with food, then the good ones. Photo number 12, Brina and Jard at a roulette table. She was leaning into him, laughing. His arm was around her waist. Photo number 15, the 2 of them kissing, not a peck. A real kiss, the kind that left no room for interpretation. Photo number 18, Jard wearing the suit. The same suit from the men's warehouse charge. He was holding up a glass of champagne, toasting the camera. Photo number 22, Brina in a hotel bathrobe, standing on a balcony. The Bellagio fountains visible behind her. A man's jacket, Jard's jacket, draped over a chair in the corner. Isaac stared at that last photo for a long time. Then he put them all in the manila envelope and drove back to work. The desktop computer sat in the corner of the living room like a beige monument to the early 2000s. A gateway bought 3 years ago when Brina insisted they needed internet access. Isaac barely touched it. He had no use for email or chat rooms, but Brina was on it every night, clicking away. He waited until she was at work. A Thursday afternoon, his day off. The computer took 4 minutes to boot up. Windows XP, that cheerful Green Hills wallpaper, the dial-up modem screaming as it connected to the internet. Isaac wasn't a tech expert, but he knew enough. Brina used AOL for email. Her password was saved. She never bothered to log out. He opened her inbox. Most of it was junk. Spam emails about weight loss pills and Nigerian princes. Forwards from her mother, newsletters from stores she liked. Then he checked the deleted folder. People always forgot about the deleted folder. The emails went back months. Dozens of them, all from the same address, jwhitmore@hotmail.com. Isaac clicked on the oldest one, dated April 2004. "Bree, it was amazing seeing you today. I can't stop thinking about you." He clicked another. May 2004. I hate sneaking around, but it's worth it to be with you. Someday we won't have to hide. Another, June 2004. Don't worry about the grease monkey. Once he buys that house, you file for divorce and take half. Then we disappear together. I know a guy in Reno who can help us start over. Grease monkey. Isaac read that phrase 3 times. He'd been called worse. In the army, in the shop, in life. Words didn't usually bother him, but this was different. This was his wife mocking him to her lover, laughing about taking his money, his house, his future. He printed everything, 23 pages of emails, evidence of a plan that went back at least 7 months. He added them to the manila envelope. That weekend, Isaac visited Cortez Auto after hours. Old man Cortez was there, as always, doing paperwork in his cramped office. Isaac, what brings you in on a Saturday? Need to talk business, boss. Cortez raised an eyebrow. Sit. Isaac sat. He explained the situation, not all of it, just enough. Wife trouble, possible divorce, needed to protect his assets. Cortez listened, his weathered face unreadable. Those tools of yours, he finally said. The Snap-on set, the diagnostic equipment, that's worth what, 10, 12,000? About that. And you want to sell them to me on paper. For $1 with a buyback clause, soon as the divorce is final, I buy them back. Cortez was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. I'll have Maria draw up the paperwork Monday. He leaned forward. You're a good man, Isaac. Whatever happened with your wife, I know it wasn't your fault. Thank you, sir. And those tools, they'll be waiting for you as long as it takes. They shook hands. The deal was done. Late October 2004, Zoe lived in a garden apartment complex off Thomas Road, the kind of place with peeling stucco and a pool that hadn't been cleaned since Clinton was president. Isaac parked his truck 2 blocks away and walked just in case Brina drove by. He knocked on the door at 10 in the morning. A Wednesday, Brina was at work. Zoe answered in sweatpants and a tank top, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked like she hadn't slept well in weeks. Isaac, her voice cracked. What are you doing here? We need to talk. I don't think that's a good. It's important, Zoe. Can I come in? She hesitated, looked past him, checking the parking lot, then stepped aside. The apartment was small and cluttered. Laundry on the couch, dishes in the sink, a cat eyeing Isaac from the top of a bookshelf. Zoe didn't offer coffee or a seat. She just stood in the middle of the room, arms crossed. What do you want? Isaac reached into his shirt pocket, made sure the mini-cassette recorder was running. The red light glowed faintly through the fabric. Jard told me everything, he said. Zoe's face went white. What? The whole plan, the trip, the money, the divorce scheme. Isaac kept his voice calm, conversational. He said it was all your idea. That's insane. I never. He's trying to save himself, Zoe. Throwing you under the bus. Says you're the one who introduced them, set the whole thing up. That's a lie, Zoe's voice rose. I barely know Jard. I met him once at that party. What party? She caught herself, too late. It doesn't matter. Look, whatever Jard told you, it's not true. I didn't plan anything. I knew about it, that's all. Knew about what exactly? Zoe's composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes. Brina came to me in March. She said she met someone, a car salesman, said he made her feel alive, feel wanted. Zoe wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I told her it was a bad idea. I told her to end it, but she wouldn't listen. And the trip, the Vegas trip, she asked me to cover for her, said she needed a few days away with him. I didn't want to, but she's my friend, Isaac. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to tell her no, you were supposed to tell me. I know that now. Zoe sank onto the arm of the couch. When you called me asking about San Diego, I panicked. I didn't know what to say. She told me you'd never find out. But I did. Yeah, Zoe laughed bitterly. You did. Isaac let the silence stretch. Then, tell me about the house. Zoe looked up. What? The plan, Brina's plan. Jard told me, but I want to hear it from you. Isaac, I really don't think. Zoe, his voice hardened. I'm trying to protect myself here. If Jard's lying about your involvement, I need to know. But if you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to assume you were part of it. That did it. Fine, fine. Zoe stood up, pacing. Brina's plan was simple. She was going to wait until you bought the house, put her name on the deed, then file for divorce and take half of everything. And Jard. They were going to move to Reno together, start over. She said he had connections there, people who could help them disappear. Disappear from what? From you, from debt. From everything. Zoe stopped pacing. She never loved you, Isaac. I'm sorry. She married you because you were stable, safe, but she's been planning to leave since the day she said yes. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but Isaac kept his face neutral. Thank you, Zoe, for being honest. Are you going to tell her I told you? No, Isaac moved toward the door. But I'd suggest staying away from Thanksgiving this year. He left before she could ask what that meant. The slide projector cost $47 at the pawn shop on Van Buren. It was an old Kodak carousel, the kind teachers used back in the 80s. The screen was extra, a collapsible tripod model that had seen better days. Isaac loaded them both into his truck and drove home. Brina was in the kitchen when he walked in carrying the equipment. What's all that? Surprise for Thanksgiving. Isaac set the projector on the coffee table. I thought we could do a slideshow, family memories, photos from our wedding, vacations, that kind of thing. Brina's expression flickered. Confusion, maybe, or suspicion. That's sweet. I've been thinking about what you said about feeling disconnected. Isaac fiddled with the projector, not meeting her eyes. Maybe we need to remember why we got together in the first place. Maybe. I'll need to dig out some old photos, the ones from the trip to Sedona, the camping weekend at Flagstaff. He paused. Oh, and I'll need to develop that disposable camera. The one from your San Diego trip. I found it in the car. Brina went very still. I didn't take many pictures on that trip. That's okay, whatever's there is fine, Isaac smiled. It's about the memories, right? He watched her swallow hard. Right, the memories. Thanksgiving Day, November 25, 2004, the turkey went into the oven at 6 in the morning. Isaac had been up since 4, unable to sleep. He'd prepped everything the night before, the bird brined, the stuffing made, the sweet potatoes peeled. Now it was just a matter of waiting. The apartment smelled like sage and butter. Outside, the sun was rising over the desert, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was going to be warm for November, high 70s. Arizona never got the memo about fall. By 9, Isaac had the table set. He'd borrowed extra chairs from the neighbors, 6 place settings, plates, silverware, cloth napkins he'd bought at the dollar store. The slide projector sat in the corner, covered with a sheet. The screen was set up against the far wall, positioned so everyone at the table could see. Brina emerged from the bedroom around 10. She looked pale, dark circles under her eyes. She'd barely slept either. You're up early, she said. Wanted to make sure everything was perfect. She moved through the apartment like a ghost, straightening things that didn't need straightening, checking her phone every few minutes. Isaac pretended not to notice. At 11, the doorbell rang. I'll get it. Isaac wiped his hands on a dish towel and crossed to the door. Evan stood on the threshold, looking uncomfortable in a button-down shirt and slacks. Brina's father was 65 years old, built like a barrel, with hands that told the story of 40 years of welding. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp despite his age. Isaac, he extended his hand. Good to see you, son. You too, Evan, come in. Evan stepped inside, looking around. Smells good in here. You cook all this yourself? Most of it. Brina helped with the pies. That was a lie. Brina had bought the pies from Safeway, but Isaac wasn't going to say that in front of her father. Dad, Brina emerged from the kitchen, offering a tight smile. You made it. Wouldn't miss it. Evan hugged her briefly, then pulled back. You look tired, honey. Everything okay? Fine, just busy with the holiday prep. Evan grunted. He didn't look convinced. Isaac handed him a beer, Budweiser, Evan's brand, and they settled into small talk. The weather, the Cardinals' terrible season, the new construction going up on the east side. At 11:30, the doorbell rang again. That must be our other guest, Isaac said. Honey, you want to get it? Brina hesitated. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the doorknob. She opened it. Jard stood on the threshold in a charcoal suit, the same suit from the photos, Isaac noted, with a bottle of wine in his hand. His smile was wide, confident. The smile of a man who thought he was getting away with something. Hey there, he stepped inside, looking around. Nice place. Jard, Brina's voice was strained. This is my husband, Isaac. Pleasure to meet you. Jard extended his hand. His grip was soft, his palms sweaty. Brina's told me a lot about you. Has she now? Isaac shook his hand, holding it a beat longer than necessary. Glad you could make it. We're thinking about buying a car, and Brina said you were the man to see. Happy to help. I've got some great deals coming up for the holidays. I'll bet you do. Isaac led him to the living room, introduced him to Evan. The old man looked Jard up and down, unimpressed. Car salesman, huh? That's right, sir. Valley Auto Group, 15 years in the business. Evan took a long drink of his beer. What kind of car you drive? BMW 5 Series. You own it, Jard's smile faltered. Leased, Evan snorted. Figures. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Brina hovered near the kitchen, wringing her hands. Jard kept shooting her looks that Isaac pretended not to see. 11:45, 11:50, 11:55. The doorbell rang. I'll get it, Isaac said. He crossed to the door, hand on the knob. Behind him, he could feel Brina's eyes boring into his back, could feel Jard's confusion. He opened the door. A woman stood on the threshold. 30 years old, maybe, dark hair, tired eyes, a cardigan stretched over a pregnant belly. She held a casserole dish in both hands. Hi, she said. I'm Angela Whitmore. You sent me an invitation. Behind Isaac, a glass shattered. He turned. Brina stood frozen, red wine pooling at her feet, the broken stem still in her hand. Jard had gone white as a sheet. Angela, he breathed. Why are you? Angela's brow furrowed. Jard, what are you doing here? Mrs. Whitmore. Isaac stepped aside, gesturing her in. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Isaac. I invited your husband too, wanted to thank you both for your help with the car search. Angela looked from Isaac to Jard to Brina. Understanding dawned slowly in her eyes. Jard, she said quietly, what's going on? Nothing, babe, it's just a misunderstanding. We should go. Isaac moved to the door, closed it, turned the deadbolt. Then he slipped the key into his pocket. Safety first, he said. Lot of break-ins in this neighborhood. The room was silent. Evan looked confused. Angela looked suspicious. Jard looked like he was about to throw up. And Brina looked like a woman who had just realized the trap had sprung. Isaac smiled. Now then, he said, let's eat. Thanksgiving Day, November 25, 2004, the turkey sat in the center of the table like a golden centerpiece. Steam rose from the carved breast, mixing with the aroma of sage stuffing and cranberry sauce. Green bean casserole, mashed potatoes with a river of gravy, sweet potato pie cooling on the counter. It was, by any measure, a beautiful spread. Nobody was eating. Isaac sat at the head of the table, calm as still water. To his right was Evan, nursing a Budweiser, his weathered face a mask of confusion. To his left was Angela, her hands folded over her pregnant belly, looking between her husband and the woman who dropped a wine glass at the sight of her. Jard sat across from his wife. The charcoal suit, that $800 suit from Men's Warehouse, seemed to be suffocating him. Sweat beaded at his temples. His eyes kept darting to the door, to Brina, to the covered shape in the corner that Isaac had called the slideshow equipment. And Brina. She sat at the far end of the table, as far from both Jard and Angela as physically possible. Her face was pale. Her hands trembled when she reached for her water glass. She hadn't spoken a word since Angela walked through the door. So, Angela said, breaking the silence, Isaac, right? I have to say I was surprised to get your invitation. Jard doesn't usually tell me about his clients. Is that so? Isaac passed her the basket of rolls. He talks about work all the time, I imagine. Oh, constantly. He's such a hard worker. Angela smiled at her husband. Aren't you, honey, always staying late, going to conferences, meeting with clients on weekends? Jard made a sound that might have been agreement, or a death rattle, hard to tell. Conferences, Isaac repeated. Where was the last one? Vegas, wasn't it? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. I don't remember, Jard managed. August, I think, around the 20th? Isaac served himself some turkey, completely casual. Beautiful city, expensive, though. A man could spend a fortune there if he wasn't careful. Evan looked up from his beer. You been to Vegas, Isaac? Once, recently, actually, had to pick something up. Brina's fork clattered against her plate. Everyone looked at her. Sorry, she whispered. Slipped. Angela was watching her now, really watching, the way women watch other women when something doesn't add up. I don't think we've met, Angela said. You're Brina, Isaac's wife? Yes. Have you met my husband before, through the dealership? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Once or twice, Brina said, at the lot, when I was looking at cars. Angela tilted her head. Funny, he never mentioned you. Well, Jard cleared his throat, I see a lot of customers, can't remember them all, but you remembered enough to come to dinner. Isaac invited me for the car deal. Right, the car deal. Angela turned back to Isaac. What kind of car are you looking for? Isaac smiled. Actually, I've changed my mind about that. I think I'll keep the Mustang. The Mustang? 1969 Boss 429, restored it myself over 4 years. He took a bite of turkey. It's been through a lot recently, but it's back where it belongs. The silence stretched. Evan was looking between Isaac and Brina now, his eyes narrowing. The old welder might not have been book-smart, but he hadn't survived 40 years in a trade by being stupid. "Something going on here I should know about?" Evan asked. "Funny you should ask." Isaac set down his fork, wiped his mouth with a cloth napkin. "I was just about to get to that." He stood up, everyone tensed. "Before we eat," Isaac said, "I think we should give thanks. That's the tradition, right? Go around the table, say what we're grateful for." "Isaac," Brina started. "I'll go first." He walked to the corner of the room where the sheet-covered equipment sat. "Usually we thank God, thank family, thank our health." He pulled the sheet away, revealing the slide projector and the screen mounted on its tripod. "But this year I want to thank someone different." He clicked the projector on. The bulb hummed to life, casting a bright rectangle on the white screen. "This year," Isaac said, "I want to thank the fraud department." The first slide appeared, bold black text on a white background. The girls' trip budget. Brina made a sound, a small, strangled thing like an animal caught in a trap. "What is this?" Evan demanded. "Isaac, what's going on?" "A presentation, sir, about how your daughter spent our savings." He clicked to the next slide. The bank statement filled the screen, blown up large enough for everyone to read. Every charge highlighted in yellow, every line item damning. $847. BELLAGIO Hotel, LAS Vegas. Suite 402, $156. Grand Lux Cafe, $312. Gentlemen's Cigar Lounge, $487. Men's WRHOUSE, $225. Spa BELLAG, $892. Hermes Boutique. Angela's hand went to her mouth. Las Vegas. "Jard, you said you were at a conference in San Diego in August." "I was. This is some kind of mistake." "Suite 402, Isaac said. 2 queens or 1 king, I wonder?" He clicked again. The third slide was a photograph. Brina and Jard at the roulette table, her leaning into him, his arm around her waist. Both of them laughing, champagne glasses in hand, looking at each other like no one else in the world existed. Angela stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "What is this?" "Angela, baby, I can explain." "What is this?" Isaac clicked to the fourth slide. Another photograph, Jard posing in front of a hotel mirror, wearing the charcoal suit. The same suit he was wearing right now at this table in this room. The price tag was still visible in the photo, $487. "That suit," Isaac said quietly, "was purchased on my credit card, August 21st, Men's Warehouse, Las Vegas Boulevard." He looked at Jard. "Nice fit, by the way. My money looks good on you." The room erupted. Angela was screaming. Not words, just sound, the raw fury of a pregnant woman who just learned her husband was a cheat. Jard was trying to grab her arm, trying to explain, but she kept pulling away. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." "Angela, please, it's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like." Evan hadn't moved. He sat in his chair, staring at the screen at the bank statement still glowing there. His hands gripped his beer bottle so hard his knuckles had gone white. "Brina," he said. His voice was low, dangerous. "Tell me this isn't real. Daddy, I can explain. Tell me you didn't steal from your husband." "It wasn't stealing, it was our money, joint account." "Money he earned." Evan stood up slowly. At 65, he was still an imposing man, barrel-chested, arms thick from decades of welding work. "Money he saved for a house, for your future." "You don't understand." "I understand fine." He turned to look at the screen again. $5,000, that's how much. $4,987, Isaac said, plus the checking account. "Another $3,000, give or take. $8,000. Evan's voice was barely a whisper. "You spent $8,000 on this. This." He couldn't finish the sentence. He just pointed at Jard, who was still trying to calm his hysterical wife. "Daddy, please, don't." Evan held up his hand. "Don't daddy me. I raised you better than this." "Your mother would be spinning in her grave." "It's not my fault. Isaac doesn't understand me. He never takes me anywhere, never buys me anything nice." "So you steal from him." Evan's voice rose. "You drain his bank account to fund your affair. That's your solution." "I was going to leave him anyway. After he bought the house, I was going to." She stopped, realized what she'd said. The room went silent. Even Angela stopped screaming. Isaac smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "After I bought the house," he repeated. "You were going to leave me after I bought the house." Brina's face crumpled. "Isaac, I didn't mean, but I think the jury would like to hear it from someone else." He walked to the dining room cabinet, opened a drawer, and pulled out the mini-cassette recorder. Someone who was there from the beginning. He pressed play. Zoe's voice filled the room, tinny but clear. Brina's plan was simple. She was going to wait until you bought the house, put her name on the deed, then file for divorce and take half of everything. Isaac's voice, and jarred. They were going to move to Reno together, start over. She said he had connections there, people who could help them disappear. Isaac stopped the tape. "That's Zoe," Brina whispered. "How did you?" "She came by for coffee last month. We had a nice chat." Isaac set the recorder on the table. "She sends her regards." Angela had gone very still. Her hands were pressed flat against the table, supporting her weight. "How long?" she asked. Her voice was calm now, too calm. "How long has this been going on?" Jard said nothing. "Isaac, how long?" Isaac clicked back through the slides to an earlier one, a screen cap of an email he'd printed and photographed. April 12, 2004, from Jay Whitmore at Hotmail. Calm subject, last night, Bree, it was amazing seeing you today. I can't stop thinking about you. "At least 7 months, Isaac said. "Based on the emails." Angela nodded slowly. 7 months, our anniversary was in May. You took me to that restaurant in Tempe, said you loved me, and the whole time. Angela, shut up. Her voice cracked like a whip. "Just shut up." She turned and walked toward the front door, tried the handle, locked. "Isaac," she said, not turning around, "please let me out. In a minute, there's one more thing." The kitchen door swung open, and Sean stepped out. Sean was in uniform, full Phoenix PD Blues badge gleaming under the dining room lights. His face was stone, his posture rigid. In his hand was a manila folder. "What the hell?" Jard's voice shot up an octave. "Who is this? Why is there a cop in the kitchen?" "Jard Whitmore." Sean's voice was professional, detached. "I'm Officer Sean Torres. We need to have a conversation." "About what? I haven't done anything." Sean opened the folder, pulled out a sheet of paper. "Are you familiar with a credit application submitted to Desert Valley Credit Union on September 15th of this year for a personal loan in the amount of $12,000? The color drained from Jard's face. What? The application was submitted under the name Isaac Reyes." Sean held up the paper. "Social security number, date of birth, employer information. All belonging to Mr. Reyes, but the signature." He turned the paper around. "That's not his handwriting. We had it analyzed." Isaac looked at Jard. "I never applied for a loan, Jard, but someone did, using my information." "That's identity theft," Sean said. "A Class 4 felony in the state of Arizona, punishable by up to 3 years in prison." That wasn't." The loan was approved. "The funds were deposited into an account at a different bank, an account in your name." Sean pulled out another sheet. "We have the records." Jard's legs seemed to give out. He grabbed the back of his chair, steadying himself. "You can't prove anything." "We can prove everything." Sean tucked the papers back into the folder. "This is a summons to appear in court. You're being formally charged. I suggest you find a lawyer." He handed the folder to Jard, who took it with trembling hands. Angela stood by the door, watching her husband. Her face was blank, empty. $12,000, she said softly. "Is that what I'm worth? Our marriage, our baby?" "Angela, I was going to pay it back. It was just to get us through." "Through what? Your gambling debts." "Your trips with your mistress," she laughed, a broken sound. "God, I'm such an idiot, working double shifts at the diner while you blow money on this." She gestured at Brina at the projector at the whole ugly scene. "I want a divorce," Angela said. "I want you out of the house by tomorrow." "You can't. Watch me." Isaac walked to the front door, pulled the key from his pocket. "Unlocked the deadbolt." "Thank you," Angela said quietly. She didn't look at him, just walked out into the November evening, her hand pressed against her pregnant belly. The door closed behind her. For a moment, no one moved. Then Evan spoke. "I'm leaving too." He stood up, setting his unfinished beer on the table. He didn't look at Brina as he headed for the door. "Daddy, wait." "Don't." "You can't just leave me here." Evan stopped, turned around. In 35 years of life, Isaac had seen a lot of things, war, death, betrayal, but he'd never seen a father look at his daughter the way Evan was looking at Brina now. "You made your bed," Evan said. His voice was flat, dead. "Now you lie in it." "Daddy, please, I have nowhere to go." "Let me come home with you just for a few days." "No. I'll pay you back. I'll make this right." "How?" Evan stepped toward her. "How are you going to make this right? You stole from your husband. You cheated on him. You were going to steal his house and run off with." He gestured at Jard with disgust. "I love him." The words hung in the air. Evan stared at his daughter for a long moment, then he shook his head. Then he's your problem now. He walked out. The door closed, his footsteps faded down the exterior stairs. Brina stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. Jard was clutching his court summons like a lifeline. Sean had moved to the corner of the room, watching, waiting. Isaac walked to the table. Picked up another manila envelope, the thick one that had been sitting by his plate all evening. One more thing, he said. He handed the envelope to Brina. What is this? Open it. Her hands shook as she undid the clasp. She pulled out the papers inside, read them. Her face went white. This is an eviction notice. I broke the lease yesterday, gave 30 days notice. But since your name isn't on it, Isaac shrugged, you have 3 days to collect your things. You can't do this. I did. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Isaac took the paper from her hand, flipped to the second page. This is a summary of marital debt. As of today, the balance on our joint credit card is $4,987. Per my attorney, that debt will be assigned to you in the divorce proceedings as marital waste. Your attorney? Miranda Rivera. She specializes in cases like this. Isaac tucked the papers back into the envelope. The debt is yours, Brina, all of it. My lawyer says the judge will have no problem with that, given the evidence. Isaac, please, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. A mistake is burning dinner, a mistake is forgetting an anniversary. His voice was still calm, still controlled. This was a plan, a 7-month plan to steal my money, steal my house, and steal my life, and you almost got away with it. He walked to the kitchen. Sean followed. We're done here, Isaac said over his shoulder. You have 3 days, I'd start packing. Isaac and Sean sat in the kitchen, listening to the chaos unfold in the other room. Brina was sobbing. Jard was pacing, muttering about lawyers and appeals and how this couldn't be happening. Through the window, they could see Angela's taillights disappearing down the street. Identity theft, Isaac said quietly. When did you find that? Last month, got a buddy in fraud investigation to look into it. Sean leaned against the counter. The loan application was sloppy. Jard's not a criminal mastermind, used his own address for correspondence. Idiot. Why didn't you tell me? Wanted it to be a surprise. Sean almost smiled. Figured today was the right time. Isaac nodded. Through the kitchen doorway, he could see Brina slumped in a dining chair, her face in her hands. Jard was standing over her, not comforting, just hovering. Already, Isaac could see the dynamic between them shifting. Jard wasn't looking at Brina like a lover anymore. He was looking at her like a liability. I need to go, Jard said. His voice carried through the doorway. Angela, I need to talk to Angela. What about me? Brina looked up. You're just going to leave. I have to fix this, my marriage, the charges. Your marriage, Brina laughed bitterly. You were going to leave her, you said we'd be together. That was before. Look, I need time to think. Time to think. Just stay here, I'll call you. Don't bother. Jard headed for the door. Isaac stepped out of the kitchen, blocking his path. For a long moment, the two men stood face to face. Jard with his sweat-stained suit and his court summons. Isaac calm as ever, his mechanic's forearms crossed over his chest. Move, Jard said. One question first. What? The 12,000, what was it for? Gambling debts? Jard's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. That's what I thought. Isaac stepped aside. Good luck in court. Jard pushed past him and out the front door, but he didn't get far. Isaac followed him onto the landing. The November air was cool, finally the desert giving up its heat as the sun dropped toward the horizon. Jard was halfway down the exterior stairs when he stopped, turned around. You think you're so smart, he spat. You think you won something today? I think I got my car back. I think I'm keeping my money. I think your wife just left you and you're facing felony charges. Isaac shrugged. Yeah, I think I won. This isn't over. It is for you. Jard charged up the stairs. Isaac didn't move. The punch came wild, telegraphed, the kind of swing you see in bar fights from men who have never thrown a real punch. Isaac stepped to the side, grabbed Jard's wrist, twisted. Jard yelped. I spent 8 years in the army, Isaac said quietly. 2 tours in Kuwait, you really want to do this? Let go of me. Isaac released his wrist. Then with one hand flat against Jard's chest, he pushed. Just pushed, Jard stumbled backward. His heel caught the edge of the top stair. He went down hard, tumbling, landing in a heap at the bottom. He wasn't hurt, just sprawled in the dirt, his expensive suit ruined, his dignity in tatters. Stay down, Isaac said. Jard stayed down. Isaac turned and walked back inside. The apartment was quiet now. Brina sat at the dining table, staring at nothing. The turkey had gone cold. The slideshow equipment sat dark in the corner. Sean had left through the back, said he had paperwork to file, gave Isaac a nod that said everything words couldn't. Isaac walked to the living room, sat down on the couch, picked up the remote. The TV flickered on, football, Cowboys versus Bears. The announcers' voices filled the room, cheerful and oblivious. He got up. Went to the kitchen, cut himself a slice of sweet potato pie, came back, sat down, ate. The pie was good, sweet with a hint of cinnamon. He'd made it himself from scratch using his grandmother's recipe. How can you just sit there? Brina was standing in the doorway. Her makeup had run black streaks down her cheeks. Her eyes were red and swollen. How can you just sit there and watch football like nothing happened? Isaac took another bite of pie. Cowboys are up by 7. I hate you. I know. This is your fault, all of this, if you'd just been a better husband. Better husband. Isaac set down his fork. I worked 60 hours a week for you. I saved every penny for a house, for us. I gave you everything I had. Everything you had wasn't enough. You're right. He picked up the fork again. It wasn't because what you wanted wasn't a husband. You wanted a wallet, and when mine wasn't fat enough, you found another one. Brina opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I'm going to fight this. The eviction, the debt. Fight all you want. The evidence is overwhelming. He turned back to the TV. You have 3 days to pack. I'd suggest you start tonight. She stood there for a long moment. Then she walked to the bedroom and slammed the door. Isaac ate his pie, watched the game. The Cowboys scored another touchdown. Outside, somewhere in the Phoenix night, Jard was probably calling a lawyer. Angela was probably crying in her car. Evan was probably pouring himself a stiff drink and wondering where he'd gone wrong. But here, in this apartment, there was just the sound of the television and the taste of cinnamon and the strange, hollow peace that comes when the storm finally passes. Isaac finished his pie, cut himself another slice. The Cowboys won 21-7. 4 months later, March 2005, the courtroom was small and plain. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of old coffee and desperation. Isaac sat in the front row, wearing his cleanest jeans and a button-down shirt, watching the judge shuffle papers. Miranda Rivera sat beside him, her briefcase open, her face calm. Across the aisle, Brina sat with her own lawyer, a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She'd lost weight. Her hair was different, shorter, less styled. She looked tired. Good. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience, looked up from her papers. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties, the bank statements, the photographs, the recorded testimony. She peered over her glasses at Brina. Mrs. Reyes, do you dispute any of the charges outlined in these documents? Brina's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client maintains that the expenditures were made from a joint account and therefore... That's not what I asked. The judge's voice was firm. Mrs. Reyes, do you dispute that you spent marital funds on a romantic relationship with a third party? Silence. Mrs. Reyes? No, Brina whispered. I don't dispute it. The judge nodded. Under Arizona law, marital waste is defined as the excessive and abnormal spending of marital assets for purposes unrelated to the marriage. Based on the evidence presented, I find that Mrs. Reyes did commit marital waste in the amount of $4,987. Miranda squeezed Isaac's arm. This debt is hereby assigned solely to Mrs. Reyes. Mr. Reyes is absolved of responsibility for this amount. The judge made a note. Furthermore, given the clear evidence of infidelity, I am granting Mr. Reyes' petition for divorce on grounds of irretrievable breakdown. The marriage is dissolved. The gavel came down. Isaac exhaled, a breath he felt like he'd been holding for 7 months. Mr. Reyes, the judge's voice softened slightly. You're free to go. He stood, shook Miranda's hand. Thank you. Don't thank me, you did the work. She gathered her papers. Take care of yourself, Isaac, you deserve better. He walked out of the courtroom without looking back. Brina was still sitting at the table, head bowed, her lawyer whispering something in her ear. Isaac didn't care. He pushed through the courthouse doors and stepped into the Arizona sunshine. The Mustang was parked at the curb, red paint gleaming, chrome sparkling. He got in, started the engine. The thunder rolled through him like a promise. 1 year later, November 2005, the garage was small, but it was his. A fixer-upper on the east side of Mesa, purchased with a VA loan and 6 months of sweat equity. The house itself was nothing special. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a kitchen that needed updating, but the garage was perfect. 2 bays, a concrete floor, enough room for a lift if he ever saved up for one. Isaac Reyes, owner and operator, that's what the sign said. Hand-painted by Danny, his old co-worker from Cortez Auto who'd helped him get started. Business was steady. Word of mouth, mostly. Honest work at honest prices. No shortcuts, no scams, just a mechanic who knew his way around an engine and didn't charge extra for the privilege. The Mustang sat in the driveway, freshly washed. Isaac had spent the morning detailing her, working wax into the curves of the body, polishing the chrome until it gleamed. She was 11 years old now, the restoration, not the car, and she ran better than she had in decades. He was wiping grease from his hands when the truck pulled up. Sean's pickup, a blue Chevy with a Phoenix PD sticker in the back window, rolled to a stop behind the Mustang. The door opened and Sean climbed out, a 6-pack of Budweiser in hand. "Figured you might need these," Sean said, holding up the beer. "You figured right." They walked to the Mustang, dropped the tailgate, sat down, legs dangling, watching the sun start its descent toward the western mountains. Sean cracked open 2 beers, handed one to Isaac. "To surviving," Sean said. "To surviving." They clinked bottles, drank. The beer was cold, the air was warm. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked and kids laughed and life went on the way it always does. "Heard from Danny last week," Sean said. "Says you're stealing all of Cortez's customers." "Not stealing, they come to me because I don't charge $50 for an oil change." "Same thing," Isaac smiled. "How's work?" "Same old, domestics, DUIs, the occasional bar fight." Sean took a long drink. "Oh, and Jard Whitmore took a plea deal." Isaac looked at him. "When?" "Last month, 18 months probation, full restitution. He has to pay back every penny of that loan plus interest." "What about Angela?" "Divorced him, moved back to Tucson with her parents, had the baby in September, a girl." Sean shrugged. "She's doing okay, from what I hear, better off without him." Isaac nodded. "Good." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky turn orange and pink. The same colors Isaac had seen 100 times from this desert, but somehow never got old. "Almost forgot." Sean reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone. "Got a weird message last week, someone trying to track you down." "Who?" 3 guesses. Isaac didn't need 3. "Brina." "Yep." "Found me on one of those online friend sites. MySpace or something. Asked if I knew where you were living now." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing, blocked her." Sean finished his beer, reached for another. "She's working at a diner now, double shifts from what I hear, trying to pay off the debt." Isaac thought about that, the credit card bill, the legal fees. The cost of her choices, compounding day by day. He didn't feel satisfaction, not exactly, just a kind of tired acceptance. "She made her choice," he said. "That she did. I hope she figures it out, eventually." Sean raised an eyebrow. "You mean that?" Isaac considered the question. Did he mean it? Did he want Brina to find peace, to build a better life, to become the person she should have been all along? "Yeah," he said finally. "I do, not for her sake, for mine." He took a drink. "Carrying hate around is exhausting. I'd rather just let it go." "That's very enlightened of you." "I read a book," Sean laughed. "Since when do you read?" "Since I got divorced and had too much time on my hands." They sat there until the sun touched the horizon, painting the desert in shades of fire. The beer ran out. The air grew cooler. "I should head out," Sean said, sliding off the tailgate. "Maria's making enchiladas. You're welcome to join." "Thanks, but I've got plans." "Plans, you?" Isaac smiled, didn't elaborate. They shook hands, the firm grip of brothers who'd seen war together, who'd survived together, who didn't need words to say what mattered. "Take care of yourself, Isaac." "You too." Sean drove away. The truck's taillights faded into the dusk. Isaac stood alone in his driveway looking at the Mustang. 4 years of work, hundreds of hours, thousands of dollars. Blood, sweat, and more frustration than he cared to remember. But she was his. Every bolt, every wire, every inch of chrome, just like this house, just like this garage, just like this life he'd built from the ashes of the old one. He walked to the driver's side, opened the door, slid behind the wheel. The leather was warm from the sun. The steering wheel fit his hands like it was made for them. The smell of oil and gasoline and possibility filled the air. He turned the key. The engine roared to life. That sound, that beautiful thundering sound. The voice of 429 cubic inches of American muscle speaking a language only certain men understood. Isaac pulled out of the driveway, turned onto the main road, headed west toward the mountains, toward the sunset, toward whatever came next. The rearview mirror showed the garage getting smaller, the house, the life he'd built. He didn't look back for long. The road stretched ahead, empty and endless. The sky blazed with color. The engine sang. Isaac pressed the gas. The Mustang surged forward, eating up the miles, carrying him away from the past and into a future he'd earned. No debt, no lies. Just a man and his car and the open road. The sun slipped below the horizon. The stars came out, and Isaac Reyes drove on, free at last, into the Arizona night.